Truth, Chapter 5. Good afternoon, and welcome to this week's edition of Fair Game. Our lead story this week is the continuing police investigation into the murder of the local banker Ted Granville. Switch location to street in front of Ian's house. Me. Fairfield police continued to interview students and community members searching for leads in the murder of local banker Ted Granville. I'm here with Officer Tran. Granville died of head injuries at the home of Jane and George Clausen on the evening of Friday, November 15th. The Clausens were out of town at the time of the murder. The home was in the care of their son Ian and a grade 12 student at Fairfield Secondary. Me. Will police continue to dedicate their full attention to the case? Tran. We are giving this incident the highest priority and are dedicating all necessary resources to the investigation. Me. What message would you offer to the students of Fairfield Secondary? Tran. More than one person was involved in this crime, and we believe others may have witnessed it. Students with any information should report it immediately to the police. The department has also established an anonymous tip line and posted details throughout the school. Me. Police are unable to name suspects at this time, but say they are investigating the movements of several persons of interest. Anchor. The community continues to reach with shock and outrage. Here's what Fairfield secondary students and teachers had to say about the incident. Switch to various hallway location shots. Katie Gill. It's totally shocking. I always thought stuff like this just happened on TV and in big cities, not towns like this. Brent White. This could almost erase Fairfield's reputation as the most boring town on earth. Mr. Finn, Vice Principal. I can only hope that our students will consider the severity of this event and offer full cooperation to the authorities. Jesse Scribes. Bad deal for that Granville dude, man. I finished my police interview on the weekend and collected the student comments after planning meeting on Monday. The piece is going to run with some of Scott's best video of the Clausen house. He took it from really low, so the house is silhouetted against some dark clouds. It looks really spooky, definitely like a murder site. Miss Chan is pleased with my piece. She should be. I spent a long time on it. I had nothing else to do all weekend except mope. Georgia was saintly enough to come over and keep me company on Saturday night. She arrived and Ian have helped all wait, no. She arrived with more news. Jerome, Nate, Ross, and Ian have all been questioned 3 times by the police. The latest interrogations were on Friday afternoon. I guess that's what Jerome meant when he said he had a really shitty day, I told her. Georgia had rented 3 girls' movies, and we sniffed our way through 2 of them. In between scenes, she tried to comfort me. Whatever he's done, I'm sure he'll regret it tomorrow. He'll probably call and apologize, and everything will be back to normal. I don't think so. I shook my head. It's a bit more complicated than that. Georgia didn't say anything, and I could tell she was waiting for me to explain. I knew I should tell her about Jerome had been avoiding me, about his what if car accident questions, about the boot print and the evidence of 2 attackers. I opened my mouth to explain, but it all suddenly seemed too complicated. And the gist of it was that my ex-boyfriend, could be a murderer. That sounded so ridiculous that I couldn't say it. Georgia waited expectantly while all these thoughts shot through my head like a laser light show. I was too tired to make any sense of them. I can't explain it all right now. Her shoulders stiffened and she looked away. I'm sorry, I started, but she interrupted me. No need to talk until you're ready. I'm sorry I cried. I could tell she was hurt. She gathered up her stuff and left soon after. I'm dreading bumping into Jerome in school, but I only see him once a day. He's leaning against his locker and joking with a group of guys. He looks like everything's normal, which makes me want to punch him. Instead, I duck back around the corner and go to class the other way. Then I wish I had talked to him. I'm thinking about trying to catch up with him after school. I know, this is not the relationship tactic Cosmo would recommend. Unfortunately, or fortunately, Mr. Arthur catches me on the way out to his classroom. He wants me to join his Wednesday afternoon study group for extra math help. Christmas exams will sneak up on you, he says. It's only November, and thinking to the end of the week stresses me out at the moment. I can't handle thinking about the end of the term. I tell Mr. Arthur, I'll consider it. By the time I escape, the hallways are clearing and Jerome's gone. Waiting outside for me is my dad. He's sitting in his hideously embarrassing green Volvo station wagon, which he says is his cachet, whatever that's supposed to mean. And he's scanning the lawn for me. He's dressed for work in creased black pants and a golf shirt. At the office, he adds a lab coat and a stethoscope. Dad, what are you doing here? I had a couple of cancellations. Came to pick you up, he says, like it's the most normal thing in the world. Last time you picked me up from school, it was 8 and it was so cold outside the kids were getting frostbite waiting for the bus. He just grunts. Want to come for a drive or not? This is what happens when you're the only child of a single parent. Any other father who found himself with an afternoon off would probably call his wife, but not my dad. He hardly ever has a girlfriend, even. And he's pretty a good catch. A doctor, a wonderful daughter, of course, a big house, the shag carpet to downsize, but I'm sure a girlfriend could change that. We get out of town pretty fast. There are only 4 traffic lights in all of Fairfield, so it's not like there's a big afternoon traffic jam. Soon we're winding up Bow Creek Road. There's no snow on the ground, and the trees are bare and the branches look crisp, like they've stiffened in the cold. Dad, where are you taking me? Patience, You'll soon see. He used to do this when I was a little kid. He picked up takeout fried chicken and pop and drive up one of the old logging roads around town until he found a picnic spot. But we haven't done that in years, and it's going to be dark in a couple of hours. He pulls off the road near the driveway and with a gate across it. Come on, he says. Dad, no trespassing. Since when are you such a goody two shoes? Where's your investigative drive? He teases, jumping the gate. No one has said goody two shoes since Leave It to Beaver went off the air in the 70s. I grumble as I follow him. The driveway ends at a gravel turnaround, but Dad continues down a rough trail. I can hear a river through the trees. Almost there, he says. I crunch along behind him, complaining about wood ticks. 2 minutes later, we emerge from the trees at top of the cliff. My dad has his arm out to slow me down. Go to the edge on your stomach, he says. We both drop and wiggle forward to where you can see into the canyon. There's a huge waterfall below. To the right, there where the walls of the canyon gradually narrow, the water is calm and glassy. Then it roars over a cliff and it never recovers. It all whirlpools and rapids at the base. This was your mom's favorite spot before she moved back to the city, Dad tells me, sliding back from the edge. It's incredible. She said it was a good place to escape her problems. I can understand that. Even when I move back from the edge and lie in the tiny clearing, I can still see the spray of the water rising. When I close my eyes, the roar makes me dizzy, as if the cliff might give way at any minute. I can understand why my mom had things to escape. This town, for example, where everyone knows everything about you. She grew up in the city. I guess the life of a small town doctor's wife was more claustrophobic than she expected. She's never said that. When I see her, usually in the summer or at Christmas, she just avoids talking about Fairfield. I saw Officer McBride yesterday, Dad says. Really? That's enough to make me open my eyes and sit up. Just for coffee, but he mentioned the Greenville murder. Really? That's all I seem to be able to say. They don't seem to be making much headway. Trouble finding information, he says. I heard that. I'm non-committal, and I am completely calm. Deep breath. Maybe taking up yoga would be a good idea. The interesting thing is, Dad continues, he seems to think that a lot of people know exactly what went on that night. He thinks there's a good chance the entire school knows who murdered Ted Greenville. That's an exaggeration, I say. Dad looks up from the fallen leaf he's been shredding. Do you know? He asks. I never saw it. I shrug. I was downstairs. I believe you didn't see it happen, Dad says. But this is a small town. It's hard to keep secrets, especially when you're 17. If someone saw it, they would never tell the cops. They'd probably end up like Ted Greenville by the next day. I'm sure the police would protect anyone with information, Dad says confidently. Whatever. What about that woman who on the news last year had a restraining order against her husband? He broke into her house and killed her. Dad looks at me. I'm being unreasonable. If you know something, you need to tell me. These are the thoughts that go through my head and fast forward. Ross's boots, Ross leaning over me in the hallway, Jerome's silence, Jerome's, I had a really shitty day, Jerome's, what if your dad killed someone? What if he asked you to lie? Nope, I tell my dad, making myself look right into his eyes. I don't know who it was. I'm sure someone at school knows, but most people rather not.